from my first races, plural, of 2024. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Run Selfie Repeat podcast, where we talk about life with a side of running. My name's Kelly Roberts. I have been doing this for quite some time, and I am so happy to be here, but I am not happy to watch myself. I'm doing this new thing with the podcast where you can watch the podcast or listen to it wherever you get your favorite podcasts, but I keep forgetting, and then I just sit there watching, staring in the mirror as it records myself, and it makes me so uncomfortable. So I'm getting that tab away. But how is everybody doing? How are we? I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. I have a little housekeeping before we get into little race recaps before we talk about what we're talking today, which is how to make running more fun, which I know, $1 billion question. I know I say this every single episode because this is a podcast and you could be listening to this anytime in the future. But if you're listening to this in real time, our next Badass Lady Gang training experience registration just opened. It is called the Strive to Thrive 8-week 5K, 10K training experience. Why 5K, 10K? Why are they looped together? Because it's very, very easy to create similar training plans for 5K and 10K. There's slight differences in the amount of reps when we're doing speed work. And then obviously the long run's a tiny bit different as well. But our training experiences are a really, really fun way to see what training with the Badass Lady Gang is all about. And spoiler alert, if you are training for the Lululemon 10K tour in Los Angeles that takes place on, I want to say March 30th, this is a really great training experience for you because it lines up. That doesn't mean that you have to be training for that specific race to be a part of it. These training experiences are virtual, and you don't even need to be training for a race to take part. Our training experiences are free for our Badass Lady Gang training team members. So if you are a member of our annual or monthly training team, you could take part in the training experience if you'd like. Or you can purchase the training experience one off. I want to say it's $120 off the top of my head. I don't know. I should know that, but I don't. It's written down. Well, it's written online where you can go purchase. But things that you get when you do a training experience with me, you obviously get your 8-week training plan. We call them running plans. Your running plan gets customized to you. So once you sign up, I offer running plans in 4 different levels. There's 5K level 1, 5K level 2, 5K level 3, 5K level 4, or 10K level 1, 10K level 2, 10K level 3, 10K level 4. They're all versions of the exact same plan, but there are slight differences. Level 3 and 4 have an extra speed play day because you're running 5 or 6 running days a week. If you are running 3 or 4 running days a week, you have 1 speed play day. Everybody has 1 long run, and then everyone has at least 1, possibly 2 time on your feet days, meaning conversational pace days. Then you're going to have 2 strength training days, sometimes 3, and then you're also going to have the option to do 1 or 2 cross training days. When you train with me, I don't like to call strength work cross training. I think it's easier to Tetris everything into your weekly plan or cut stuff when everything kind of stands alone and you can kind of see it. So obviously you're going to get a training plan that meets you where you are, because when you select which level you want, you're going to tell me what your last 3 weeks have looked like. You're going to tell me what you like. You're going to tell me what you don't like. You're going to tell me where you are. And then I'm going to make some tweaks to really support you where you are so that we can spend the next 8 weeks really chasing down your personal best effort. So you're going to get a running plan inside of the app/platform called Final Surge. That'll live there. You're going to get access to all of Coach Amanda's strength and yoga video library. So if you are looking for a series, you can do a straight series. She has new strength series that aren't strength by yoga. All of our strength programs, videos, everything's made for runners, but there's different levels. So there's, oh my gosh, my cats are being wild. Wild girls, wild girls. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when the food comes for you? It's almost food time. I think that's why they're in X Games mode. But we have so many different series with Coach Amanda. She's got an 8-week series, a 16-week series, a new short 8-week series, and then a new entry level 8-week series that's strictly strength work. We've got one-off videos. We've got how-to videos. We've got so many great resources available to everybody who trains with us. Whether you're doing a training experience or the team, you get access to Coach Amanda's 4-pod functional movement, functional yoga spaces. So if you're looking for a real challenge to work on your strength in yoga, her functional movement, functional yoga pods are 4 months long, and you can also just straight up subscribe to those. They're $15 a month if you're looking for a yoga challenge to get really strong. They're really, really great. They're truly like out of this world. You get access to all of Coach Amanda's videos, but you also get access to those 4 specific pods. There's one video every single week for 4 months. They're fantastic. Highly recommend. But our team and our training experiences get access to the FMFY, as we call them, functional movement, functional yoga. You get access to our journals. So you'll get 8-week 5K, 10K journals with video modules, so that if you don't want to do the journaling, you can just straight up watch the videos and absorb all the mental resources, because I am a huge believer in doing the mental work. You're going to get that. You're going to get access to our private 5K, 10K training group. So all of those members who are training with you, you're going to connect with them there. And then you get access to our weekly coaching call, which happens every Wednesday at 8:00 p.m. Eastern time. You get some extra goodies, but like that's kind of what it is. Training starts February 5th, the first Monday in February. It's 8 weeks long. Come train with us. It is such a fun training experience. And then it's going to culminate in an IRL if you want to come to Los Angeles to run the 10K. We're going to finish it up there. So, but again, you don't need to be doing that specific race in order to participate. This is a virtual training program, so you could do it wherever you want. I highly recommend only joining the training experiences, though, if you want to make the calls, because the calls really are the thing that makes it special. So if you can't do Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time, you still will get a lot out of the training experiences, but you're not going to get the whole experience. But very exciting. You can learn more down below. I'll link it. What else do we have coming up? I feel like we have something else coming up soon. I mean, we're halfway through January, everybody. Time flies when you're having fun. 2024, it's going to be 2025 before we know it. No, it's not. It is not. We just started. I feel like I'm in a really, really great place personally with me and my running and my everything I'm doing. I really wanted, so after I did last September, I did a half Ironman. That was my big goal for 2023. What year was last year? 2023? That's right? I don't know. I think so. I'm like fairly certain we're in 2024. I'd say I'm 80% sure. I can't remember. I don't know. I haven't written a check yet this year. I feel like that's when I start putting it into my mind. Last year, September was my half Ironman, and I spent all year getting this fitness level, and I felt so great. Running, being fit, those two go hand in hand. It is just so much more fun when you're fit. So by the end of it, I was just like really enjoying my running, really enjoying my bike riding, enjoying my swims. Like I was just in a great place. And then I was really excited to get to like race because my half Ironman, I did not push myself as hard as I possibly could have, because that was not the goal of that race. The goal was to finish in a place knowing that I worked really hard and I did the thing and I wasn't dead. And that's what I did. And I felt amazing. But I wanted to play with shorter distances. So I signed up for the Lululemon 10K in Scottsdale, Arizona in November. And then I was also signed up to do the Run Disney 5K and then the Run Get Disney 10K in Disneyland. I knew I wasn't going to race the Disney ones because that feels so silly, because those races are so expensive. Why would you run as hard and fast as you can when the whole point is to enjoy it? I was like, I'm not going to. I'm definitely going to like run strong, but I don't want to all out go. So I said Lululemon 10K in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's going to be my like fun all out race. And then the day before that, I was walking to Chipotle and rolled my ankle. There was like this like fake curb. There was the sidewalk disappeared into a ramp to make it accessible for people in wheelchairs or with wheels. And it was like 3 inches, and they didn't mark it. I couldn't see it. It was dark. And all I know is I went over and I was on the floor and I rolled my ankle and sprained my ankle. And so I couldn't run the race the next day, which was such a bummer. And then like, it really took like 6 weeks to get back, to running and let that heal and rehab it. So that was a bummer. But by the time I feel like 3 weeks ago, I started getting back to a place where I felt really good. And then it was almost time to do these Disney races. And so I just got back. If you've never done a Run Disney race, first I would say, like, are you a Disney person? Because if the answer is no, do not do a Run Disney race. You will not enjoy yourself. You have to get up obscenely early because the races start really early because they need to get everybody out of the parks. A part of me thinks that the Disney World races start earlier than the Disneyland races. The Disneyland races start at 5, which isn't that bad, but they're a little vague about when to get there. Like the 5K was relatively small. It was not that big, and there was no information about like closing corrals. Otherwise, I stayed at the hotel on site. I left my hotel at 4, and then I was, like, at the parks in line to get in at 4:10. And it took about 15 minutes to get in to the parks, and then once we were in, we just kind of, like, stood there, but they never closed the corrals. Closing corrals is when, like, sometimes when you have a really, really big race, like, there's a certain time where they will stop letting people into corrals. A corral is exactly like what it sounds like. You get put into a holding pen based on, sometimes it's based on your pace, sometimes it's random. More often than not, it's based on pace and projected finishing time so that you're around people who are similar to you and everybody's moving at like similar speeds, and you're not having these like dangerous situations where people are kind of like running into each other or falling over each other. Some people are trying to go hard, some people are walking, etc. So the corral is your placement. So there's normally a letter attached to it, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, whatever. And then sometimes there's also waves. So the bigger the race, sometimes there's more waves. So there'll be inside of wave 1, you'll have corrals. Then inside of wave 2, you'll have those same corrals, A, B, C, D. And then sometimes you'll have waves 3 or 4 even, right? Like when we get into something like the New York City Marathon, you have 4, sometimes 5 different waves. So, and they start over like 2 to 3 hours. So it's a huge amount of time to get. I mean, but the New York City Marathon has like 45, 50,000 runners. So to get all those people out onto the roads takes time. You don't just like say go and then everybody's on their way. You want a steady flow of people. So that's a corral, just for anyone who isn't aware what a corral is. So we ended up, I didn't want the corrals to close on me because I wanted to be in corral A, because I did know that I wanted to like run the majority of them. Most people are sane, and when they do these Disney races, they stop for characters. So they take their time and they really enjoy the process. I did not. I did not push myself all out, like definitely not, but I didn't really stop. So I was in Corral A, and luckily I ran into one of our badass lady gangers from San Diego in the bathroom, who I've known for a couple years now, and she runs with Badass Lady Gang San Diego. And it was so fun to like run into her, because I was like, I had all my shit with like in my hands as I was going to the bathroom, and I didn't want to like put stuff down because I was afraid I would leave stuff behind. So I was like, I like pulled my pants up and I was like getting ready to leave, and I was like, I'll just fix my dress after I wash my hands. So I like walked out to wash my hands and like put all my stuff down, and and this girl goes, "Oh, your dress is tucked into your shorts." And I turned around to be like, "Oh, I know. I'm just gonna like, I'm gonna look in the mirror and fix it." But then I saw it was Denise, and I was like, "Denise, what are you doing here?" So that was so fun to run into her, because we were both all by ourselves. So we got to like, one, catch up, but two, like have a buddy to hang out with until the race started. But we were standing around for like a good 30 minutes, and it's 40 degrees, and like that's not fun. I would have much rather have started a little bit later, but it doesn't matter. You not started a little bit later, but shown up a tiny bit later so that I could have just like rolled up and ran. Doesn't matter though. It is what it is. They had a fun little like pre-show thing where like they like had a stage. We couldn't see the stage though, even though we were in the first corral. And there were like some fireworks, and then they sang the national anthem, which like official petition to stop singing the national anthem at every single thing. Why do we do that in America? Why are we always singing the national anthem before anything? Why? Do other countries? I don't think other countries do that. And I just like, no disrespect, but why do we do that? What about this running race has anything to do with like having national pride? You know? I don't understand. I just don't understand. And everyone like has to stand still, and it's like, I have shit. I'm trying to like get into my corral, because the next day for the 10K, I I left same amount of time, right? Left my hotel at 4, but this time I ran to the starting line. So even though I walked the first day, I got to the starting line the same time as the 2 days, because the other starting line, the 10K and the half, were about a mile away from where I was staying. So I got there at 4:10, and then I ended up having to get in this giant security line, and it took 40 minutes to get through security. So I had like 10 minutes before the race started to like go to the bathroom one more time, which like the porta potties were in these like pitch black it was just pitch black. It was pitch black in the porta potty. You couldn't see anything. So that was like, what is happening? And then like as I'm trying to like get to my corral, the national anthem's happening and everyone's standing still. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm not stopping. I have to get to my corral. So I was like moving and grooving, but doesn't matter. Official petition to stop singing the national anthem before every single fucking thing. So obnoxious. So unnecessary, you know? It's great when whoever's singing it does a great job, but like, does that ever happen? I mean, it's not the Super Bowl. We don't got Lady Gaga, you know? You know what I mean? But anyways, I'm going back to the 5K. So the 5K starts, and as we talked about with these corrals and these assignments, like normally people around you are at similar paces or have similar goals. No, not at this race. I am all for people taking up time and space and going wherever they feel like they need to go. But if you're going to put yourself into an earlier wave corral time, you have to go more towards the back of that wave so that you're not immediately walking in the middle of the walkway and people are running into you. And people were not staying to the sides. They were like walking wherever they wanted to immediately. And that was wild because it was like it wasn't pitch black, but it was definitely dark where we started. So I was kind of like, I just got to get out of this stretch between Matterhorn and Small World. And I think once we get over to Toontown, there'll be more light and like more space, and I won't be dealing with people who are walking. And it was fine. Once we got out of that area, everyone around me was running, and no one really was around me ever after that. Like I might have had 3 or 4 people around me at any given point because no one really run Disney races like that I saw where I was, the way that we were. And I wasn't running crazy fast. I was running like 10-minute miles-ish, conversational pace, just cruising. So that was pretty funny. The course was amazing. Easily one of the best running 5K courses in the whole entire world. It was over in the blink of an eye. I didn't see a ton of characters, but once I got into California Adventure, uh, if I saw a character with a really short line, I stopped. So like Cruella de Vil didn't have anyone in line. So I stopped and said, I took a picture real quick. And then as we were going towards the finish, like I could see the 3-mile marker, and I saw Mr. Fredrickson and Doug from Up, and I was like, "I'll just stop real quick." So I pulled over and I stopped because I was pushing a little hard at that point because there were spectators, and I just like got all excited. And I started to get like, like when you push way too hard and you start to like gag and stuff, like that was starting to happen. And I was like, "Girl, you cannot cross that finish line like dry heaving. You are insane. This is a Disney race. What are you doing?" And so I like stopped, caught my breath, and then just like cruised into the finish. And as I was cruising through, there was no one around. So I was like, perfect opportunity to jump over the finish line. So I was like, in my head, I'm like, these are going to be the best pictures ever. So I jumped and like was like, ha ha ha, so proud of myself. And then as I'm walking out, like they give you so much stuff at these races. They give you like a Powerade and a water and then a banana and then this little like goodie box, and then a medal. So I'm like trying to like hold everything, and then a heat sheet. And I hear my name and I turn around and I'm trying to figure out who's calling my name. And it was my friend from college who like works at Disneyland. And it was so fun to see him. I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in like a decade. This is so wild. And so we stopped and we caught up and we chit chatted, and he was like kind of in charge of the Run Disney races kind of. And that was really fun. And then I ran into another friend he's head of a charity and all their charity runners. So obviously he was there, and we chit chatted and caught up. And then I went back to the room and was like, what do I do? Do I go to bed? Like it's 6:00. I didn't. I dropped all my footage that I took into, my computer, and then I decided to go get food. And then I did Disneyland all day long, and I ended up doing 19 miles that day. And I was so tired and my legs hurt so bad. And I was like, I do not know what's going to happen tomorrow. And then the next day, woke up again, 3:00 in the morning. Like that's these Disney races. You have to get up so absurdly early. And I felt awful. I was so tired. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? And I took 10 minutes to stretch. I drank, I mean, I don't even want to call it coffee. I don't know what the business is with this Joffrey's nonsense, but like it is water. It is not coffee. That stuff has no caffeine in it, because later I got a coffee from something else in the parks, and I felt like I had just like shot to the moon. The amount of caffeine in those coffees, do something to you. The other ones, I felt absolutely nothing. So if also official petition to whatever Disneyland hotels are doing, like, let Florida have that dirt water and let's get some real stuff going. I also like bought myself those Starbucks via instant coffees, instant packets, and I'm just putting them into my carry-on bag, and I'm just never having that happen to me again. But, I wanted to do a long run, so because the starting line was a mile away, I was like, "Perfect, I'll run there, I'll run back, I'll run 6.2, and that'll get me to 8, and that's a great long run for the day." So I ran over there, and then all that madness happened with security, and then I kind of, like, slipped into my corral right before the race was about to start, and luckily, I ran into someone who is a friend of one of my team members as I was, like, getting to the race, so we actually stood together for, like, 30 minutes and talked, and so it was so nice to, like, have someone to talk to and, like, get to know, and she lives in New York City, so, like, that was really fun, and then we immediately lost each other when we got through security, but, I mean, like, the race was about to start, so I think we were both hustling, and then as I got into my corral, someone else came up to me and was like, "Are you Kelly?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." And so we were chit-chatting, and it was so nice to talk to her and her friend, and that was lovely. And then the race started, and we were on our way. And let me tell you, the 10K, best course in the world. That is the best Run Disney race I've ever done. Do not recommend the half marathon at all. It is like out in the middle of nowhere for most of the race. You're not really in the parks, but the 10K is like all parks. You do a mile outside of the park, and then the rest of it is pretty much like in the parks. It was the best. I thought the 5K was going to be the best. Absolutely not. The 10K was the best. I again did like 10-minute miles, cruised, felt so strong, had so much fun. Really enjoyed myself. And when the first mile I ran with music, and then I turned my music off and was just like enjoying the atmosphere. And I was using Good Morning both during the 5K and the 10K as a way to figure out if I was still in conversational pace by saying good morning to cast members. So I was trying to say good morning to everybody. So like if you look at my footage, it's like good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. I felt like a broken record. But I could tell when I was like, "Good morning." I could be like, "Oh, pull it back a little bit. You're pushing a little too hard, Kelly." And it was so fun. But at the end, when we were like 5 and a half, I want to say maybe, uh, someone came up next to me and said hello, and we were chit-chatting. And we talked a little bit, but I was tired, and so we weren't talking too much. But then we ran back into each other because we went through a water stop, and she decided to stop to grab water, and I was like, I'm gonna keep going. But as we exited to, like, do our final stretch to the finish line, she came back up beside me, and I was like, "You wanna go? Let's push." And so we ended up doing, like, a final 400-meter push and, like, really cooked it into the finish line, which was so fun, and, we got to chit-chat a little bit more, and then I ran back, to the hotel, and I did my run, and it was so lovely, and let me tell you, I love Run Disney. I wanna do it again next year, for sure doing the 10K. I am obsessed. I also think I wanna do the marathon. I think I wanna do the Disney World Marathon, and I wanna see how many rides I can ride. I wanna run it hard in the beginning and then Hollywood. What do they call that? What do they call their park? Hollywood Studios? Something like that, MGM? And ride as many rides as I can, and then when I get to Epcot, ride as many rides as I can and maybe get a drink and then finish with everybody before the balloon ladies. I don't know, I kinda want to, it sounds really fun. And you know me, I'm a Disney girly. I love Disney. I'm going to Disney Tokyo in, like, 3 weeks. I'm a Disney adult, and I have no shame, and I love it, and it makes me so happy. But that's my Disney recap. It was the best. It was so fun. Cannot recommend it enough. Although don't do it because it sells out, and I don't want it to sell out. I wanna be able to do it again. It was good. I feel really strong. It was like a nice I haven't ran those paces like that in a really long time, so it was a really fun little, like, confidence boost to see all the work that I've been putting in, and I'm really excited to see what happens this year because I've been working really hard to feel really strong on the run and, like, doing my strength work and doing my training and really showing up for myself and cross training and all that, so I feel really good. I feel really proud of myself, and I'm really, really excited about the rest of the year. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Part of me kinda sort of is thinking about doing a fall marathon. I feel like the more I talk about it here or the more I talk about it with people, the more I start to get excited about possibly doing a fall marathon. I will be honest with you, last week, I almost bought a charity bib for the London Marathon this year, and I had to be like, "Kelly Roberts, dial it back. No. No, 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 no. Absolutely not. Oh, that was another thing that I wanted to tell you all about. 2025, next year. Oh, it is 2024 then. Next year, 2025, we're going to Sydney for the Sydney Marathon in September. So, we have a company who's doing it for us. So, if you're interested, keep your eyes peeled on our Instagram, on Mighty Networks. I'll talk about it here, but start squirreling away those nuts because, Australia is expensive. Although I think their dollar is very weak compared to the US dollar. So you get more bang for your buck. So though it will be expensive, it won't be crazy expensive for Americans to go to Sydney, but we're doing it. So if you want to run the Sydney Marathon or you just want to do a Badass Lady Gang trip, keep your eyes peeled. We're doing it and everyone's invited. The more people who do it, the cheaper it is. So it'll be fun. But shall we get into what we're talking about today? How to make more running more fun? Because I feel like this is one of the hardest things. This is one of the hardest aspects of running for sure, is making something that is incredibly difficult and already inherently uh painful, uncomfortable, trying, fun, right? So, something I'm always talking to my athletes about is really figuring out for yourself when and how do you have fun? Is it music? Is it people? Is it places? Is it gaming it? Is it taking photos? Is it chasing down big goals? Start to get curious about what makes anything for you worth doing. Is it the experience? Is it sharing the experience, whether that's storytelling online or with other people? Make a list of when you have the most fun, right? And then make a list of when you have the most fun doing things that aren't necessarily fun, right? Like I remember years and years and years ago, our neighbor came over when we were doing chores and we were so annoyed and unhappy about doing chores, like big chores, like cleaning before Christmas. And she kind of like Mary Poppins'd it and was like, "Well, you have to make it a game. Why don't you guys put on some really, really loud music and take dance breaks and like la 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 la." And it was like the first time that I was like, "Oh, attitude is something within my control. I can sit here doing something I don't really want to do and like bitch and moan, or I can ask myself, what will make this hard, horrible thing a little bit more enjoyable?" So ask yourself, what will make this hard, possibly horrible thing more enjoyable? I know for me, when it comes to running, it's not always about chasing outcomes. It's not always about pushing myself. Most of your runs and most of my runs are slow, strong, and steady. We're not gaming it. We're not doing hard efforts. It's not inherently broken up, right? You might have 20 minutes. You might have 30 minutes. You might have 40 minutes. You might have 50 minutes. You might have 60 minutes. How do we take that vague period and put a little bit more fun, energy, and specificity into it? Sometimes for me, the way I do it is one, it starts with before I go. I need to be in a place where I am not making a hard thing harder. I am as neutral as humanly possible mentally so that I am not overthinking. I'm not getting myself to a place where I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm just so not in the mood to run today, right? Because there's nothing wrong with that statement. That can be true. If it's true, you can't fight it. Accurate self-talk. But when you are in that place of really, really resisting what you're about to do or feeling really, really just like about it, if you can get to a place where you're not really thinking about it, you kind of just go into go mode and you start to work to build these habits, these routines. So don't get dressed to run until you are about to run. So for me, if I know I'm putting it off for a couple hours and I am dragging it out, there will come a point where it's like, all right, it's time to go. And then I get dressed, I do my quick warm up, I foam roll, I stretch, and then I'm out the door and I go. I don't let myself sit on the couch and scroll TikTok. I don't let myself start checking email. I don't let myself start, like cleaning the bathroom. It's get dressed, stretch, foam roll, go. That's what I do. That's the routine. And I get out the door within 15 minutes every single time. I try because building that routine of getting, the ritual of putting the clothing on, things start to happen in your brain. Your brain starts to quiet down the chitter chatter because it's like, okay, I know what we're about to do. And I know go mode. So you start to get into go mode because when we think about what's the end goal that we're always trying to get to, we're always trying to get to a place where we're kind of in flow, right? Where that space-time continuum speeds up and slows down at the same time. You blink and it's over. You're super present. You're super mindful. You're just in it, right? You're not overthinking things. You're not in your head. You're not dreading every single moment. You're super present, and whatever will happen already has. That's kind of the mode and zone you're in. And in order to get into that place, the easiest way to do that is to set up these routines and these rituals so that you are always kind of practicing something similar, right? It's a practice to get into that mindset. It doesn't just happen. So it starts with that pre-run routine. It starts with asking yourself, well, how can I make this fun? What are the tools that I'm going to be reaching for? Some tools that you can kind of think about are, one, music. It is totally fine to run with music. If you are someone who enjoys running with music, don't let anyone convince you that you shouldn't run with music. You can run with, those bone conductor earphones that sit on top of your ears, on the outside of your ears, and so that you can hear your surroundings. You can run with earbuds that go inside of your ears. I do both. Is it dangerous to have to cut off the outside world? A little. Am I overthinking it? Not really. I Music is such an important piece of the puzzle for me. Music unlocks the creative imagination inside of my head, and I do some of my best creative thinking and my best exploration and my best, like, just daydreaming on the run with certain music. I listen to the same playlists over and over and over again. Sometimes it's music. More often than not, it's like Disney parades from Disneyland. It's like the same Disney parades. It's the same playlist over and over and over again. I'm not even thinking about my music. It just jacks me up in a way that makes me so, so happy. So ask yourself, is it a specific playlist that you really only listen to on the run that you're listening to? Is it a playlist that you make every single time that makes you really excited? Is it an audiobook? Is it a podcast? Do you call someone? Do you like to be alone with your thoughts? What are some of the ways that you can what are the tools that you're reaching for to make running more fun? That's kind of like one of the first ones. Next, we have intervals, right? You can I This is a big one for treadmills. A lot of people who don't like to run on a treadmill really struggle with summer or winter running when we tend to need to get onto a treadmill because of outside conditions, or maybe it's, like your schedule, whatever. If you find that you struggle on a treadmill, gamify it. I'm not a huge believer in set run walk intervals, but sometimes on a treadmill, intervals can help you by chunking the amount of time that you're in. So play with increasing the speed a little bit, decreasing the speed a little bit, increase this, like, minute, 45 seconds, 90 seconds, 2 minutes, quarter of a mile, whatever. You're pressing point 1, you're pressing 2, you're down 1, you're down 2, you're down 3, you're pressing the incline, right? Like, you're constantly doing these intervals to gamify things. Sometimes leaning on run walk set intervals is a tool that you can reach for. Again, I'm a more bigger believer in intuitive running, meaning you're going to listen to your body and run until you're ready to walk, and then you're going to walk until you're ready to run, and getting curious about what you're saying to yourself during that. Are you looking for landmarks that are normally when you run or walk? Are you just totally in your head about how hard you're breathing, et cetera, et cetera? But I would start to listen to your body and let it cue you when it wants a walking break, and that's harder to do on a treadmill. But if you're having a tough day, sometimes intervals are the thing that's going to get you out of a tough spot or help you finish. So ask yourself, do I need to gamify this day, right? Am I going to count dogs? Am I going to count squirrels? Am I going to count geese? Am I going to count red cars? Am I going to start naming things or naming dogs? What are some of the sillier things that you can do to get you through the thing and take your attention off of the thing you're doing and put it onto the environment around you? Right? That's another tool. Another way to make running a little bit more fun is to go interesting places. Sometimes you can get really fatigued running the exact same route constantly. So sometimes switching it up and going somewhere new can make running a bit more fun. Same with running with people, right? Join a group run, join a group outing, go find people and peer pressure them to run with you or bike with you. Having someone to chit chat with is a game changer. I know some of my longer runs, like in the last month, were feeling a little sticky and really hard, and I was kind of getting in my head, and I was like, "Dang, am I gonna be ready to run this Disney 10K when 60 minutes feels so difficult?" And then me and Scott were back from our break. Scott films all of my social media stuff with me. He'll get on a bike for an hour, hour and a half and run with me, and we have a, laundry list of videos that we're about to shoot, and we shoot them. And next thing I know, I'm running 90 minutes with him, no problem. And it's like, "Oh, I'm just a little stuck." And having someone else to converse with and take my attention off of what I'm doing, I don't have to think about my body. I'm thinking about talking to him and laughing and having fun. So sometimes having people around you to be with, to talk to, can take your attention off of the thing you're doing and help you find a little bit more joy, a little bit more fun, right? That's a piece of it. I get asked a lot, a question I'm constantly asked is, at what point do I have enough fitness to go to a group run? Things I will say about a group run: not all group runs are accessible to everyone. I would make sure, if you've never been to a group run before, that you reach out to whoever's in charge and you ask, like, "What can I expect? I'm this minute pace. Do you have a lot of people within that pace range? Uh, what time does everyone leave when they get back to the store?" Right? If the route is a 5K, do the people who run 8-minute miles stick around for the last people, or is it kind of like people go the minute they get back, so that I can mentally accept that maybe when I get back everyone will be gone except for my group, and that won't be something that, like, disappoints me or frustrates me or makes me feel like I don't belong. So ask them, right? Like, make sure that you're showing up to someone who's going to support you. Not when people say all athletic levels welcome, that doesn't mean that they support all athletic levels or have the people around to support all athletic levels. Make sure that you know that you're not going to be running alone, or that you will be running alone. So that's something to think about. Um, if you're on a treadmill, obviously you can watch a television show. You can do more speed play, and to make sure that you are gamifying things. You could start to really get specific about how you're looking at how you're defining what success is on any given week, right? Like, are you noticing the changes that are happening? Are you noticing how you're feeling, and if you're feeling differently as you start to build fitness and that sort of a thing? That's another great way to find more fun on the run. Trail running is another great way to have more fun on the run, switch things up. Go out, get off the roads, go into the trails. You'll notice that the environment there is so different. You're walking more because you're walking up hills. You're being a bit more present. It's less uh it's less serious in a way that sometimes road running can be. You can use apps, like, I know lots of people like that app Zombie Run or other apps to, like, really help them gamify their running. You can also start to, like, really set some challenges for yourself and set some little goals. You can do scavenger hunts, like that kind of challenge goal, or you can do things like, I'm trying to run 10 miles a week. So you have that for yourself and things like that. Make sure that you're defining what success and failure are for you on any given day, on any given week, and within any cycle, right? Photography runs are another one. I know, especially like when I first started running, taking selfies and posting them to Instagram, and I didn't have a following back then. That was something that really kept me accountable and helped me continue to show up for myself, because I felt people were looking for them. Like, I don't think anyone would have noticed or anyone would have cared, but it was a really fun way for me to share my experience and to, like, hold myself accountable. You can run for causes and charities. You can really work on mindfulness or meditation by really just paying attention to this moment that we're in right here and everything going on around you, right? Like, that's another really fun tool to sharpen every single time that you are out there. Things like that. There are so many great ways that you can make running fun. All that really matters is that you're defining what it means to have fun out on the run. That's all that matters. That's all you really need to do. Does that make sense? But I think expectation, we talked about this in the last episode, right? Like, making sure that you're setting the right expectations for yourself and what this experience is going to be like, and know that, like, you're not going to be laughing and giggling most of the time. Like, running is a very difficult thing and it's really hard. And yes, fun and smiles, those are earned things. Those are things that you really need to work for. But for the most part, they're probably going to be forgettable miles. They're not going to be terrible, but they're not going to be great. They're going to be forgettable. it's those really, really fun ones and those really, really great ones that make everything worth it. But setting that expectation of knowing that this is about progress, knowing that it's a work in progress, knowing that it's really about teeny tiny small steps in the right direction. It's not about leaps and bounds or doing things right or wrong. You're just making choices and learning from those choices. Does that make sense? Stunning. All right. Should we answer some questions? All right. Let's answer some questions. So one of my favorite parts about this new Run Selfie Repeat is that you can submit questions. So you can go to badassladygame.com and go to the podcast and submit a written question there, or you can email me at info@badassladygame.com. So the first question comes from Kate. She wrote, not totally related. Are you going to keep reacting to BQ or Bust? And no. So if you didn't know, I was doing BQ or Bust reaction videos on YouTube. I was watching that series back and reacting to them. I did it. I thought I would do it all the way through my final attempt, and maybe I will later this year. But for now, I got through the first Chicago attempt and I'm done. It's hard to watch myself. It's fun to watch, but it is hard to watch myself. Okay, another question. How does one get certified to be a run coach? There are a couple different programs that you could do. You could do RRCA, which is Roadrunners Coaching Association. I think they have a couple different levels that you can do. You go and you take a 2-day course, and then you take a test, and then you're a coach. You could do USTAF, US Track and Field. They have a coaching program. You could do VDOT has a coaching program. There's a couple different programs that you can do. You can also do like personal training programs. Those are really great. Definitely going over and above. Those are really difficult tests to take. Truth is, becoming a running coach is very, very, very easy, and you don't really learn anything. So you have to be kind of careful about who you're hiring as a coach and what their experience is like, if that makes sense. Okay, I'll do one more. What miles should a runner be at before starting a marathon training plan? How long does it take? This is from Elaine. This is a really great question. Okay, marathon training. What should you be at? I think the first thing you need to do is figure out what running plan are you going to use and where does it start, right? If the running plan you're about to use starts at a 2-hour long run and then 3 midweek runs, we need to make sure that your midweek runs aren't at 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, and then maybe your longest long run is at 60 minutes and the plan wants you to start at 45, 60, 45, and then that 2-hour long run, right? Like it's such a huge jump from where you are. You want to make sure that you figure out what is the training plan that I'm going to be using and where does it start, right? Then we establish the base. Very few marathon training plans have you go from couch to marathon. Some of them do, and those tend to be 6 or 8 months long. I think that's too long of a period of time to train for something specific like a marathon. The way I like my athletes to do it is to do 8 or 12 weeks of base building, and we're focusing on goals that are not the marathon as we're base building. So not only are we building up their long runs and building up their weekly mileage, but we're chasing down different types of goals and we're focusing on things that we won't really focus on in marathon training. And then after that, they get 2 weeks to do whatever they want. They move how they want to, when they want to, because they want to. Very rarely does anyone do absolutely nothing for those 2 weeks. Sometimes they might take 1 week off and then get back into it. Sometimes they'll take a couple days off. But I like for them to not have anything on their plans for at least 2 weeks before we move into marathon training. I like a 16-week marathon training program. I know I have a level 1 that's 20 weeks and a level 1 that's 16 weeks. But about 16 weeks is what a marathon training plan looks like. That's normally about how long that they are. But again, there are 6-month, 8-month, 1-year long marathon training plans. I just think that that's way, 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 way too long. What should you be at? I think you're in the best place if you can slowly build yourself up to 60-minute runs midweek and then have your long run be between 90 minutes and 2 hours. I think if your long run can be at 2 hours, you just will have such a better time during marathon training. You won't feel it as aggressively and you have more wiggle room for those kickback weeks, for those down weeks, for those sick weeks, injuries, vacations, whatever, because the only thing you can really predict is that everything's going to go sideways at some point. So having that flexibility is really, really wonderful. But hard to say. There's not really one size fits all, if that makes sense. But I think that's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Kick ass, take names, and if you need anything, holler at me. Bye, gang.